Welcome back to another episode of Style of Play Football with myself, Theo. As always, thank you very much for joining the channel, joining the live stream. If you're new here, if you're new to the channel, make sure again you subscribe, you like the videos, you let me know your thoughts in the comments. If you're watching afterwards as well, make sure you still subscribe. We're on 60 subscribers, which is woeful. We need to get a lot more subscribers in. So if you're here, you're new, you're watching this channel, if you're a returning subscriber or returning viewer and you still haven't subscribed, make sure you smash the subscribe button. I can't stress that enough. Make sure you subscribe. Couple of things to talk about today. Obviously we know that Pep Guardiola signed his new deal. We're going to get into all of that. We're going to be talking about referees as well. Should referees be drug tested? There was an article I think that came out last night or this morning, saying that there's no intentions for referees to be drug tested, which I think is bonkers. I think referees should be drug tested, to be fair. I think, at the end of the day, we're seeing a lot more madness happening in some of these games, and if we're being honest, the refs need to be drug tested. It's as simple as that. We're going to talk about all of that, though. But let's start with Pep Guardiola, who has signed a new deal at Manchester City, a year extension on top of the deal that was currently running out. There is an option, I believe, for a further year on top of this. So we could technically see Pep Guardiola return or stay at Manchester City for another 2 years, which, if I'm going to be honest, man, I was ready for Guardiola to go, man. We got rid of Jurgen Klopp. I thought we'd get rid of Pep Guardiola and then we'll be happy, man. We'll be made up. We'll be sorted. We'll see Arne Slot come into his stride. We'll see Enzo Maresca come into his stride. Mikel Arteta might have a chance of winning the Premier League. But now with Guardiola staying, it does feel like a couple of things. I feel like, one, Man City will definitely be beating those charges, the 115 or 114, whatever it is now. Those charges will be literally null and void very quickly. I think, I don't think there's a way that Pep Guardiola would stay at Manchester City if he knows that there's going to be repercussions come from the charges that are still pending for Man City. I personally think that he knows that Man City are good, they're calm, they're ready, they're active. They can be active in the summer transfer window. They can be ready in the summer window after that. I think they're calm. I think Man City, they've got wins, or they've got some intel that is basically letting everyone know in the camp of Manchester City that they're fine. That's the only reason why I can see that Pep Guardiola would want to continue at Man City, knowing that there's other jobs that are going to be available, in the next two years or so, the next 24 months, there's going to be jobs coming up. And for Pep to be confident enough that Man City are going to be good in terms of no restrictions in the transfer market, no points deduction, no demotion from the Premier League, I think that's the only reason why he signed the deal. Now it's interesting because we'll read the article that's on. Let's find the article that I think is on Sky Sports. Let's have a look. Where are we? What are we doing this morning? Messing things up completely. So yeah, here we go. This is on Sky Sports. So it says that Manchester City boss agrees contract extension with option of further year until 2027. Manchester City boss Pep Guardiola agrees terms on a new 1 year contract extension. The Spaniard's new deal includes option of a further year. The 53-year-old's current Manchester City deal is expiring at the end of this season. It also goes on to say that Man City refused to comment when contacted by Sky Sports about this. The Athletic were reporting that the announcement is expected in the coming days. The new contract will take Spaniard over a decade in charge of the club, having managed Manchester City for the summer of 2016. Now that's something that's quite important as well, because Pep Guardiola doesn't necessarily always stay at clubs for this duration of time. So, if he's been at a club for 10 years, I'm trying to think of his time at Barca. Maybe that was maybe that was coming up to 10-year period. But you look at Bayern Munich, he wasn't there for that long. He doesn't tend to stay really that long at clubs. He normally moves on and goes to another project. But for him to be here, he clearly loves what the vision of the club, the project of the club, the players that he's having at his disposal to work with. Erling Haaland, Rodri, Kevin De Bruyne, Ederson. He's obviously got a talent in front of him as well that he can utilize. But it says here that Guardiola has won 18 trophies, including 6 Premier League titles and the Champions League at Man City. Obviously, they won the Premier League 4 times. It shows it here: the 6 Premier Leagues, 2 FA Cups, 4 EFL Cups, 1 Champions League, 1 Super Cup, and 1 Club World Cup. Speculation over Guardiola's future was rife for several months. Had increased considerably after the club confirmed recently director of football Tikisi Bigiristian, I think I've just butchered that name, will be leaving at the end of the season. He was a long-term colleague of Guardiola's. He's to be replaced by Sporting Lisbon's Hugo Viana, a former Newcastle player. Ending into uncertainty over Guardiola's position would prevent further disruption next summer, at the time when the club is also due to compete in the Club World Cup. That's another very important thing as well, because obviously, again, the Club World Cup's coming up, the new format that Chelsea are also involved in as one of the English clubs. You need someone that's going to, if you want to win that, again, the money, the incentive, the winning of that trophy, again, you need someone like Guardiola who's going to be able to, you need a manager at the top level that's going to be able to do that. And that is Guardiola all over. I think he's, City have made the right call. Again, this was broken by Sam Lee, a Man City reporter at The Athletic. The news, which reportedly could be confirmed later this week, would also come at a critical time in City's season, hampered by injuries. The champions' form have wavered off late, with the team having lost their last 4 matches in all comps, the worst run of Guardiola's career. Again, maybe this is why they've brought this information out now as well, and they want it to be in the domain, is because obviously, if you think back to before the international break, I can't remember the time City looked so bad playing in the Champions League, playing in the Premier League as well. It also says here that it was also been difficult campaign off field, with the club facing 115 charges for alleged breaching of the Premier League rules following on from the investigation into financial affairs. Guardiola succeeded Manuel Pellegrini at City 8 years ago after previously successful spells in charge of Barca and Bayern Munich. Really, really interesting there. I think that's really, really interesting in terms of what we know is to be the thing for Guardiola. I think he's definitely one of the elite managers, man. We have to give him, as much as people will say that he's had teams, ready-made teams, he's had, you still have to get the best out of those teams, whether that's City, Barca or Bayern Munich. What I think as well is, I think that Man City are thinking well ahead. They're thinking about times after, when he won't be here, when he's gone and someone else comes in. They're almost going to do what maybe Jurgen Klopp has done at Liverpool, and left a really good solid team, organised team for Arne Slot to take over. And I think there are players in that City team. You look at Kevin De Bruyne, you think of maybe a John Stones as well, Ederson, who might all move on in the next 2 years or so. You think about those sort of players, maybe even Erling Haaland. There's talk of him going to Real Madrid or into La Liga at some point. Now, if he goes, you need someone like Guardiola who's going to be able to bring in the next crop of players, the Rico Lewises and all those sort of players. They might find another little gem hidden somewhere. They might bring in Viktor Gyökeres. We never know. But they're going to need Pep Guardiola to do that. He's going to be the guy that's going to develop the next set of City players that will stay at that club for the next, 5 or 6 years, and hopefully bring those crop of players through. And then if he leaves in 2 years, in 2027, the next manager's got a group of players that he can just work with and run with and tweak and add to as he needs to. It's interesting as well, because I feel this will be a massive turning point in this season's Premier League title run. You look at Liverpool flying high at top of the league. Chelsea are there or thereabouts. There's still a lot of question marks about Chelsea and Enzo Maresca and what he's trying to do with the club there. But you look at this now, And I always say this about Man City. This is their turning point. This is their point where they flick a switch. They go into this sort of automatic drive mode, and they don't stop. They do not stop. So I wouldn't be surprised if all this is coming out now, because like I said, the charges, I feel like the charges will be washed away in the next couple of months. In fact, I'm sure the decision's meant to be coming out in January for that as well. I'm pretty sure it's January. So I think this is perfect time for Man City. Just before the last international break, busy period of Premier League football, Champions League football coming up as well. I feel this will be the thing that will catapult City's season. They haven't had the best start, but when do they? City don't necessarily have the best starts at all throughout the season. And like I said, they hit a switch, they hit a moment in the season, normally around this time now, the December period, and they just go on a mad run. And they start battering teams. And I wouldn't be surprised if they go through that run now. Arne Slot doing really well at Liverpool, but you do have to question now whether this is the moment City said, no. We're coming for that title. We're coming for the fifth one. Five in a row. 5 in a row would be actually amazing. I'll be honest. 5 in a row in this day and age would be amazing to see a team do that. I'd love it to be Chelsea, but City, if they can do that, win 5 in a row, yeah, you got to credit them, because like I said, even though they got the players, they've got the manager, they got the facilities, you still have to make all that work. It ain't just about bringing in Doku's and Kevin De Bruyne's and Erling Haaland's and all that. It helps, of course it does, but you still have to make things work. Frank Lampard had that Man City team. I'm pretty sure they wouldn't be playing how Pep's got them playing, which is crazy actually. Segue, but Coventry, what are you doing? Coventry is about to appoint Frank Lampard as their manager. We're going to talk about that when we've got the panel with us on a separate one. But crazy from Coventry, especially when Ruud van Nistelrooy was right there. Ruud van Nistelrooy was right there, wanted the job at Coventry, and he turned them down. They said, no, we want Frank Lampard. But we're going to talk about that on another when we've got the panel. We're going to talk about that. Kojo should actually be joining us. Kojo, where are you actually? You should be on this panel today. That's another thing before we move on from Pep as well. I feel like this is a moment where Pep can bide his time a little bit, and he can potentially look at what international job does he want. Obviously, the most obvious one would be the Spanish job. If he can get that in the next after the World Cup, I'm pretty sure he'd be looking at that, eyeing that up, maybe thinking, I can stay at City for a year or two. Remember, it's only a year really, with the option to extend for a further year. So I think he's eyeing up that Spanish job. I think he wants an international job. We've seen Thomas Tuchel go down that route with England recently, but I feel like Pep Guardiola wants an international job, and I think he would take the Spanish job. I think he wants that. I think he knows he might get it if it becomes available after the World Cup. He might stay for another 2 years, get the extension done at City as well, and then take the job on after the World Cup. But I think he's eyeing up that. I think that's what he wants now. He's done enough in domestic club football. I think his next level will be international. See what he can do there. Can he guide Spain to major trophies as well? That they've already done that, but can he replicate that again with them? So I think that's what he wants to do, if I'm being honest. But let me know what you think about Pep Guardiola. Is it the right move for him? Should he have walked away? What does it mean for the charges? I'm pretty sure the announcement for the charges is coming up in January, or it's early Jan, end of December, early Jan, that we're expected to hear the outcome of those 115 charges from City. But let me know what you think. What does it mean for the title race as well? Does it mean that City can now turn that corner, that dark corner that they've been around, 4 defeats back to back in all comps for them? So can they turn that corner and now progress in the league and the Champions League as well? Let me know what you think. Don't forget to subscribe as well. If you're on here after the live stream, make sure you subscribe to this channel. I want to see, before I do the next video, I want to at least see us closer to 100 subscribers. So if you haven't subscribed, please make sure you subscribe to this channel. Let's move on. Let's talk about David Coote, who I think, if I'm being honest, I missed when we spoke about it on here. I wasn't here, so I missed it. I think Basil, Kojo, they were talking about David Coote, and basically everything that is wrong with referees for me personally. Do you get what I'm saying? Like everything that could be wrong for refs. But I think personally, I've had a bit of time actually to kind of think about this one, because I feel like people saying to me, "Oh, you're just overreacting. You're just overreacting." And I don't know, man. Am I overreacting? I don't think I am. I'm going to be honest. I'm going to be 100% honest about this, actually. I don't think I'm overreacting, because I respect and hear what Basil and Koji were saying, and I actually agreed with a lot of what they said when we recorded on this channel not too long ago. But I just think it's nuts. I think it's absolutely bonkers. And I keep saying this. People keep saying to me like it's an overreaction. You know, David Coote, he's just done this thing, and you know, it's mad. It's sly that his mate that he was with leaking the video. I hear all that, yeah. But what I don't get is you've got to take account when you do something wrong. Yeah, this is the only way I can sum this up. When you do something wrong, you're responsible for those things. Do you get what I'm saying? Like you're responsible for. You've got to be held accountable for your mistakes. So the guy leaking it, yeah, he's got his own thing. He shouldn't have done that, but he didn't have anything to leak if he didn't say that in the first place. If David Coote doesn't say any of that stuff, he ain't even got nothing to leak. You got to know your surroundings and the people that you're around as well. That's another thing. That's another story for another day. But I think in terms of refereeing, I think he's brought a lot of scrutiny into the game from a referee's perspective. I really do, because I think he's not just the only one. Because people keep saying to me, but you know, fans say things like that. You know, players have probably said things like that, and I get all that. But you know, when you're a referee, it's so different. Even if a manager, if Mikel Arteta called Klopp, whatever he called him, yeah, or Maresca calls it to Pep, or one of the other managers talk about another manager, it isn't even that deep. But you see, when you're a referee, you can't talk bad of any club. Even if you despise the manager, or you despise the club, or your mate hates the city, what he called them, Scouse, whatever he called them, forget all that. Take that away for a minute. The fact that he's talking about a manager like that, a club, it just means that he could never referee that game again. He can't referee them games against Liverpool. But then again, I feel like if you take him out of Liverpool games, David Coote, then what's to say that you can't do the same for someone like Anthony Taylor, who might have the same feelings about Chelsea, or another manager Paul Tini could have it about Arsenal or Tottenham or whoever. And that's where you kind of, it's not favoritism, but you're taking away the opportunity for someone to referee a game. Nah, someone, I can't remember what I was watching, but someone made a very good point actually. Even if you take him out of Liverpool games, that potentially could mean, and this is the point I was trying to make last week when I was talking about this to someone. Even if you take him out of Liverpool games and he doesn't referee those games, and he referees an Arsenal game, and Arsenal pushing for the league, or he referees a City game and they're pushing for the league, and we now know subconsciously he's got a bit of unconscious bias. He doesn't like Liverpool. People can say, oh, he didn't say anything about Liverpool. He spoke about Klopp. He said he likes James Milner, all the rest of it. But realistically, he don't like Liverpool. That's the gist of the thing. Now, if he's refereeing City, and City get a mad penalty that isn't even a penalty, and he's outside the box, but he gives it as a penalty, and VAR don't overturn it, then there's still things like that could work in the favour of City and goes against Liverpool for trying to push for the league. So it's not just him not refereeing the Liverpool games that's a concern. It's the fact that he could be refereeing games that will impact what Liverpool's season looks like at the end, that he can't referee the City games, or he can't referee an Arsenal game, or he couldn't referee a Chelsea game. Like, those things are the snowball effects of what you would do if you can't allow him to referee the Liverpool games. Now, I personally think he's not the only one, David Coote. I think there's other referees that will be, if you looked into them, like I keep saying, Anthony Taylor. If you're a Chelsea fan, you'll know what I'm talking about. Just Google Anthony Taylor, Chelsea. Everything will come up and it will make sense, and you'll see all the incidents, all the things that went against us in terms of refereeing decisions that Anthony Taylor's had. I was watching an overlap the other day, and I think there was a ref, Kevin something, and he basically they were talking about this ref. He's now done a podcast. He's not refereeing anymore. He's refereed in the early 2000s and the 90s, And he was saying that he used to let players kick the shit out of Ian Wright. He used to let players kick the shit out of Ian Wright because he just didn't like the fact that Ian Wright was so good on the ball. Now, that's an unconscious bias. Whether people want to agree with me or not, that's an unconscious bias. So when you're doing things like that, it's swaying the game to the opposition or another opponent. And you just, me personally, you just can't do that. You just can't do that. Let's move on to the article, the recent article that was in the papers, I think, today. Now, this is the article from that I think was from the Telegraph, actually. Now, the PGMOL has come out and said they have no plans to drug test referees after David Coots scandal, which for me is scandalous. It's absolutely scandalous. It says here that the PGMOL has no plans to introduce drug testing for referees despite the ongoing investigation into David Coote. And as mentioned, this is from the Telegraph. The 42-year-old referee was suspended. I mean, I don't do drugs, so I don't know, but why is a 42-year-old man sitting with a younger guy in a house or wherever he was doing all these drugs? Why is a 42-year-old man who's got a professional job, who's in the limelight, doing drugs in the first place? Like, that's something we need to talk about in a minute. But the 42-year-old referee was suspended last week after a video surfaced allegedly showing him snorting a white powder. There's no allegedly about it. You can say it was chalk, but we know what it was. Believed to be cocaine. Coote is unlikely to return to officiating in England, and talks of a potential. Why do all these people go to Saudi when these things happen? Mad. UEFA and FIFA do not mandate drug testing for match officials, and the PGMOL aligns with this approach. The rationale behind the absence of drug tests for referees has historically been that officials, unlike players, do not gain a competitive advantage from using so. Nah, I disagree with that. I disagree with that massively. I disagree with that. I think they do get an advantage because, like I just said, like, you wouldn't trust your school teachers doing cocaine. Like, there's certain jobs that you just can't do those kind of things in. A mechanic, a doctor, a surgeon. Like, there's certain jobs you just can't do those things in. Now, if you're working in a bar behind a pub and you want to do that, go and do that. Go and fill your boots. Go and fill your nose. But you can't do that as a referee. You can't do that. It's as simple as that. It says here, however, the allegations surrounding Coote have raised fresh questions about whether this policy needs to be revisited. Former referees Chief Keith Hackett, has publicly called for drug testing to be introduced and has previously suggested it to the PGMO board. The issue is particularly significant for the Football Association, which shares ownership of the PGMOL and oversees anti-doping measures in English football. Currently, players face rigorous testing protocols managed by the United Kingdom anti-doping, including random blood and urine testings at matches, training sessions, and even at home. The Coote scandal is also under FIFA scrutiny following the release of an 8-second video that reportedly shows him using rolled up banknote, I'm sure it was an American dollar as well, to snort powder. It was alleged to have been shot 24 hours after Coote served as an assistant VAR during France's 2024 European Championship quarter-final victory over Portugal on July 5th. Allegations of inappropriate behaviour, including derogatory comments about Klopp, have been made the situation worse. PGMOL referees will convene this week at Loughborough University for a scheduling training session where the Coote issue is expected to be a key topic of informal discussion. While the fallout from the incident continues, it remains seen whether the findings will prompt PGMOL to reconsider its stance on drug testing the Premier League officials. Now, reading all that, to me is bonkers, because the PGMOL are saying that it doesn't bring any sort of advantage to another club, but it does. It has to, because if you're like I said, if you're City and he's VAR and they get a penalty or they get a red card that isn't a red card, but he sees it as a red card, or he tells the ref to go to the screen, it's just there. Like, it's clear as day. I feel like referees are protected too much. Referees are protected way too much in football, in English football. They're protected way too much. Like, for me, that is clear as day. It's clear as day. Like, it's clear as day. got to change, because if it doesn't, you're opening a can of worms by allowing other referees to get away with things. And maybe that's why they don't want to do it, because for me, they're just as much, they need to be tested. Referees need to be tested just as much as players. You know, then you open a can of worms about briberies and all the rest of it. You know, are they taking backhand payments to fix games in a certain way? Like, these things are not it's not out of astronomical universe to think that these things might actually be happening in the football world. Like, people could be taking bribes from clubs, agents, players, whatever. We see it in Greek football. You know, if you go back, we done Leroy Lita on here. He done an interview, spoke about it in Greek football, about the match fixing and all of that happens in Greek football. There's nothing to say that doesn't happen in English football as well. And the fact that he's taking drugs during the tournament, this is only last year, not even last year. It was this year, July. He's taking drugs at that point. Like, there's a wider issue here where we have to talk about the fact that, you know, he clearly isn't mentally well. So I think maybe there needs to be more about referees' well-being, their mental health, what's going on outside of the game. But at the same time as well, we're talking about a potential $billion organization, association in terms of the Premier League. And we're talking about a club that potentially could lose out on 80, 90, 100 million if they get relegated based on the referee's decision. Not ultimately just that, over the course of time. But if you're in, imagine you're in the Champions League final and he's one of the officials on there. He won't be now, but if he was, he could change the whole landscape of the game. Like, it just, to me, it just doesn't make any sense. But so for me, there needs to be a bit more. I think referees need to be definitely made more of an example of when they get things wrong. I think they should have to come out after the game, just like players have to, just like managers have to. You know, if managers get their tactics wrong, they have to come out and face the media, face the press, face Sky News, Sky Sports, TNT, whoever. Referees should do that as well. Because what referees do is when they make a mistake, it takes 24 hours and they issue a written apology to the club. But what they should actually do is come out on TV like the players have to, the managers have to, and come out and explain to the TV cameras and the millions of people watching at home, as well as the fans in the stadium, why they got that mistake wrong. And maybe that might start helping that massive gap between fan base and referees, or fan base players and referees. Because, you know, it's not just David Coote that makes mistakes or has made an off-field mistake. I guarantee you they're going to have to check his WhatsApps. They're going to have to check David Coote's WhatsApps, because I guarantee you if they find something in there where he's talking about a particular game and there's another referee involved, then they're going to have to do a wider investigation. And that's my thing. That's why I feel like they should have to do that. They should have to put in a proper structured investigation to make sure that there isn't any corruption in the game. Because when you talk about not just David Coote, other referees, and you think sometimes, how have they come to that conclusion? Or like the offsides, you think, how have they come to that conclusion that goal's offside or the goal's onside? It's just, and we all of us, whether you support Wolverhampton Wanderers to Arsenal, yeah, we've all said that there's no consistency with this VAR stuff, and you wonder why now. You have to wonder why. Is it because there's a ring of them that are rigging games, or they're just inconsistent, or some of them alcoholics, and some of them drug takers? There's loads of things that you could talk about and probably not even get halfway. You wouldn't even scratch the surface. So I feel there needs to be a lot more done for the game itself, for referees, their own well-being and mental health. But we also have to bring in drug testing. It's as simple as that. We have to bring in drug. If he's doing drugs, yeah, how is he even, like, because I'm assuming referees must do fitness tests. They have to be doing like medicals, fitness tests, making sure, like, if you're doing all that, you're binging on cocaine and you're drinking and whatever else, like, you've got a problem. A footballer would not be able to get away with doing that in the game. He's a professional referee. He's at the top level of refereeing in this country. So for the PGMOL to say that they don't think there needs to be drug testing in the refereeing world, that tells you that there's more issues than we know about. And I bet you the PGMOL know about those issues already, and they don't want those issues to come out. That's all I can think of in there. But let me know what you think. Should referees be drug tested? Should the referee and PGMOL, should they be doing more for referees in terms of setting examples, setting a precedence? And what should they be doing next? What should happen to David Coote? Should he be demoted from the Premier League? Should he be moved to the Saudi League? Or should he just be moved to League One, League Two, Championship, the Football League as well? Let me know what you think. Let me know what your thoughts are. Do not forget to subscribe. We're going to go on to our last point of this stream. Viktor Gyökeres, 4 goals again last night. That guy is on fire. That guy is on absolute fire. A lot of talk about him. A lot of talk about him at the moment. 4 goals I think for Sweden. I don't know if he scored earlier in the earlier tournament, in the earlier games. Yeah, I'm worried about this one. I'm going to be honest. I'm worried about this one. I really am. The reason I'm worried is because I feel like there's only one destination for Viktor Gyökeres. I don't think he's going to stay at Sporting. Ruben Amorim, now at Manchester United, will be prime in the hot seat to obtain him. I think there's a release clause for Viktor Gyökeres as well. I think he's I'm pretty sure he's got a 70 million, or it might be 100. I think it's a 70 million, but I'm pretty sure I read United are ready to activate 100 million for the release clause. They want to pay over the odds for the release clause to make sure that they can get him over the line. United need a striker. You know, obviously Joshua Zirkzee hasn't really lit the place up at Old Trafford. Neither has Rasmus Højlund. Neither. So they need a striker. Chelsea need a striker. Nicholas Jackson is doing well, but I think he's covering over a lot of cracks at Chelsea at the moment with his informed game. Arsenal are desperate for a striker. There's still talk about Alexander Isak going there, but you know, Gyökeres will not be staying at Sporting, and whoever gets him, they're getting a goal scorer. They're getting an absolute tuckers. As Leon Knight would say, the tuck shop is open with Viktor Gyökeres. I look at this, I mean, we're looking at the mirror here, and I think personally he's gonna go to United. No ifs, no buts. The guy is going to Manchester United. According to reports here, Wes Brown, this is part of David Craven from the Mirror. He's basically saying that ex-Man United favourite Wes Brown reckons Rasmus Højlund must quickly show new boss Ruben Amorim why the club does not need to invest in Viktor Gyökeres. Gyökeres has been heavily tipped to follow Amorim from Sporting Lisbon to Old Trafford with the Premier League outfit, one of many top European clubs considering making a move in the summer. But Brown, who made 25 appearances for United, 255, sorry, not 25, believes the Danish forward Højlund has chance to demonstrate that he can do the job up front. I don't think he can. Let's be honest. He can't do the job up front. We've seen it. Nah, what's Wes Brown talking about? I'm not even going to read the rest of that. Let's read this bit here. So in an interview with Casino 24, Brown added, United have been linked to Viktor Gyökeres and it's almost up to Højlund to show Amorim why he's not needed at the club. He needs to get involved and finish his chances to make sure he's in the starting 11 every week. If Gyökeres comes in, it almost says to the players that they're not good enough. Come on, Wes Brown, you've been at United you've been there. Like, you know the levels at United. You know the levels at United. You know the levels at United. What is going on? So it's about stepping things up in the matches, but also in training. Otherwise, it would be normal for the manager to bring someone in that he knows well. I think he brings him in. And the reason I think he brings him in is because I think when any manager comes to a club, any manager goes to a club, they want to bring in someone that almost a marquee signing, and they want to bring in someone that they're familiar with and someone that they've worked with before. United need a striker. Gyökeres is right there. He's worked with Amorim. Amorim knows him. Gyökeres knows Amorim. It just makes sense for him to go there, you know. And I think the club, in terms of the ownership, they'll want to bring someone in, a massive signing, you know, to stamp the authority that it's a new era under Amorim. They're trusting him. They're backing him as well. And I think this is the striker that they're going to get. I do think that. But we have to think Arsenal have still not signed a striker. You know, they've been persevering with Kai Havertz up front. They've played Gabriel Jesus there. They've sold Nketiah as well. So they need a striker, Arsenal. Chelsea, you know, there's a lot of talk about Nicholas Jackson. His form is brilliant at the moment. He was before the international break, but he's not the answer still. I don't think. I'm a Chelsea fan and I can say that. I don't think Nicholas Jackson is the answer. I think we need someone who is prolific in goal. And I keep saying it, if you listen back to my Chelsea podcast, we have not had a prolific goal scorer since Diego Costa. 20 goals a season. You know, we need someone prolific in front of goal. I feel like Gyökeres would fit into our squad at Chelsea. I think we've got all the wide players that would work to his talents, to his abilities. We've got, you know, Cole Palmer that loves to feed balls into the striker as well. I think Gyökeres would be perfect for Chelsea. I just don't see how we bring someone else in without at least one or two players going. Obviously, we know Ben Chilwell's leaving potentially in January or the summer, but we need to activate that release clause. Personally, from a Chelsea perspective, but also again, you know, Liverpool could also be there. You know, Darwin Núñez is a very good striker. You know, Salah again still hasn't signed a contract at Liverpool, so there might be talk about him going in the summer. If he leaves, then I can't really see Liverpool not going in for someone like Gyökeres, because I feel like he's going to be the one that will bring the goals that would be void and missing if Salah does leave and move on. But I do think whoever gets him, they've got a talent on their hands. You know, this is a player that is still relatively young, proved himself now, not just on the stage within, you know, a European perspective with Portugal, but also an international stage for his country. Familiar with, you know, he's played for Coventry before, you know, so he's familiar with English football. And he's improved massively. Now it's going to take him time. I think if he comes to the Premier League, it's going to take him time to potentially adjust, but he's going to be working with some good players. Even if he goes to, you know, United, there's still some quality players around him, and United will build, you know, Amorim will build a squad there as well. If he goes to Liverpool, he's working with some of the best talents that we've seen at Liverpool over the course of time as well. You look at the likes of maybe Ben Doak as well, that will get into that team. Conor Bradley will be more involved in that team if Trent moves on as well. You know, Gravenberg's there, Slobberslide potentially will still stay, McAllister's there. You know, they've got Gapco, Jota, so he's working with some really good players if he moves to Liverpool. If he goes to Arsenal again, you know, they got Saka, they got you know, Trossard, Odegaard there as well. Kai Havertz potentially will pick up a new role if they bring in a natural number 9 striker at Arsenal. So, you know, he's definitely got options available. But I just look at maybe Amorim, the connection with him at Sporting, the time that they've worked together and what that means for him. I think he'll want to go somewhere, especially if he comes back with the expectation that he's going to be scoring 20 goals a season. He's probably going to want to work with someone that he's more comfortable with. And for me, that is going to be Ruben Amorim at Manchester United. And I feel like he is the one that the owners will go all out for to make sure that they get that player. I don't see any other destination bar United for him. I'd love it to be Chelsea, but I don't see that happening at all. But he's a good striker, man. He's a good, him and a Meridian are to the next step up. John Duran, I think, is another good striker, but I think with Gyökeres, you know what you're getting with him. You know what you're getting. You're gonna get pure goals and nothing but goals from Gyökeres. So I'm interested to see how that one pans out as well. But let me know what your thoughts are. Let me know what you think. Where should Viktor Gyökeres go next? Should he actually stay at Sporting as well? We haven't even spoke about that option, but Sporting is another option for him if he goes there. But let me know what you think. Let me know what your thoughts are. And also, going back, should the referees be drug tested after the whole David Coote controversial stuff that's happened? Should referees be randomly drug tested, just like players are drug tested as well? How should that pan out? And what do you think about Pep Guardiola, who's now agreed an extension of 1 year at Manchester City with a further option to extend for a further year till 2027? Let me know what your thoughts are. Will Pep Guardiola be staying and biding his time for that Spanish job when it finally comes up after the World Cup? Let me know what you think. Don't forget to subscribe. Like I said, I want 100 subscribers by the time we do the next video, so make sure if you haven't done so, you hit that button below and you leave your thoughts in the comment section as well. Yeah, we'll be back soon. Don't forget to subscribe. I'm not gonna say it again. Peace.